Hey guys, tonight we twirl into an enchanting cosmos where the ancient art of Polynesian navigation takes center stage. Picture this: you're aboard a seagoing vessel, drifting beneath a canopy of twinkling stars that shimmer like spilled sugar across a velvet tablecloth. These aren't just stars, though, they're navigational waypoints, celestial allies in humanity's oldest road trip, the ocean voyage. Let's be honest, though, you probably won't survive this ancient navigation crash course. It's a mystical science, a dance of intuition and intellect that makes GPS look like child's play. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You close your eyes, but in your mind's eye, the universe opens up. The salty scent of the sea fills your senses, and time rewinds to an era where sky and sea conspire to guide explorers across vast distances. As you start this journey with a sparkling gaze towards the heavens, you're learning from the grandmasters themselves, the ancient Polynesian navigators. With a flickering star or a winking constellation, these mariners decoded the mysteries of the universe. Polaris, the shy North Star doesn't even blink over this realm. It's all about the Southern Cross and a cavalcade of other starry beacons. Here's a fun fact to chew on: Polynesians not only memorize stars but also assign them family roles. Oh yes, that straggling constellation over there? That's considered an uncle. Historians still argue whether this was a memory aid or an ultimate cosmic family reunion setup. Talk about keeping your in-laws close. The sky was more than a map, it was fables and folklore projected upon a celestial sphere. And like clockwork, every evening heralded a theatrical performance of lights, a cosmic opera where knowledge passed as sung stories, chants, and whispers of elder wisdom. In the sagas written in the stars, you feel that electric sense of awe, almost as if the vast universe is winking back at you with secrets nestled between its twinkles. Cosmology here isn't just academic pondering or a favorite geek party topic, it is vital, warm, and undeniably alive. Every star, a thread; every constellation, a story woven into the grand tapestry of existence. The titles of celestial bodies were more than whimsical or poetic gestures. Each served as an ode to the navigator's magical rendezvous with the mysteries above, a dialogue where humanity and cosmos met and dance, forging pathways through the heart of the impossible. Picture yourself standing on the deck of a canoe, the wind teasing your hair, while an elder's voice rises above the rhythmic slap of the sea against wood, recounting tales of each celestial body's journey across the sky. Legends say stars in these skies even wore disguises, hiding behind their own illuminations, testing the wisdom and patience of mariners. The navigators engaged nightly in star-staring contests with the heavens, adjusting their course by watching not just one star but a mosaic of starlight. Miss one twinkle, and you might end up somewhere entirely unexpected, like waking from a dream where you're exactly where you started. The debate rages on about the exactitude of these night guides. Star maps were etched not on parchment but in memory, an internal constellation kept alive through rigorous training and cultural continuity. But, here's a quirky nugget: some stars were believed to have mischievous tendencies, causing stormy nights or leading voyagers off course just to keep things interesting. Mischievous stars, nature's equivalent of your GPS insisting on U-turns where none are needed. The navigators saw the starry dome not as static wallpaper but as a living canvas, painted anew nightly, offering vital clues and whispers of adventure. You imagine the glint of starlight and silver waves as guides choosing pathways with meticulous precision. These navigators had no backup plan, no magical reset button, just pure expertise honed over generations. In your mind's eye, the scene is set. Beneath vast, glittering skies, every navigator seems to possess an unyielding will, a deep insondable wisdom easy as breath. The stardust of these mythic nights settles quietly on your soul, you feel slightly more enlightened, a tad more in tune with the grandness of the cosmos. It's a mind-boggling dance with some surprisingly light steps, like the celestial version of a waltz, just you and the universe syncing in perfect harmony. The stars, far from mere decorative twinkles, dictate tales of romance, drama, and the ultimate triumph over adversity. Each nighttime sky unveils a narrative, where light travels across unfathomable distances to join you on this mystical journey. This elegant ballet of cosmic storytelling reaches through time and space to lend depth to your night. So as you stand, starry-eyed, under that cosmic canopy, the celestial ode continues. Navigate the universe with humility, let the ethereal guide your dreams, and know that even within the vast enormity of it all, you are part of the same storied firmament, an audience to the universe's eternal show. And perhaps, just for a moment, these stars, this night, and your thoughts align in celestial symmetry, leading you through this elegant conundrum of time and existence. Time to slip into the details, exactly how one crafts the heart of the Pacific. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a sprawling tropical forest, probably sweating just a little, but that's the price of genius. Around you, nature appears to hum as though aware that you're about to attempt something truly magnificent, building a double-hulled canoe. Now, I know what you're thinking. How hard could it be to slap together a couple of logs, say a prayer, and call it a day? But believe me, our ancient Polynesian navigators take it to a whole new level. You lean in to get a closer look at the carefully selected wood, most likely breadfruit or koa, as detailed by history. It seems almost implausible, the way these natural materials fit together with surgical precision. Your fingers trace the grain, feel the spirit locked within it, and you remember to breathe out. There's an unspoken understanding between you and this piece of the earth. Historians still argue whether it was sheer ingenuity or perhaps a whisper from the divine that guided those builders. Either way, the craftsmanship required is enough to make IKEA flat packs seem like child's play. While you're pondering the connection between hammering a perfect dovetail joint and transcendental bliss, let's consider the craftsmanship. The double-hulled canoe wasn't built solely for aesthetics, though it certainly looks stunning while slicing through the waves. This engineering marvel brings stability and speed, crucial for navigating the vast Pacific Ocean. Imagine strapping two canoes together and making it work. It's like trying to create a beautiful friendship between your two most opinionated relatives over a Thanksgiving turkey, only this is on water. But our ancient builders pulled it off, aligning the hulls with calibrated precision that keeps balance and minimizes drag. Take that, Newton! Now, try not to panic when you learn that these canoes are lashed together with plant fibers. Yes, that's right, no nails, bolts, or any sort of metal hardware that those savvy DIY YouTubers love so much. Everything was bound using coconut husk fibers, woven meticulously into strong, flexible ropes. It's like making a sourdough starter, it requires patience and dedication. But honestly, what better options did they have back then? Velcro. Every so often, you might wonder how secure these lashing fibers were. But trust me, they were designed to withstand the test of time in turbulent waters, akin to how you've managed to keep that one long-haul friendship alive despite long silences. While you gingerly pick up a tool that looks like a primitive adze, used to shape the canoe's outer surface, a dog barks somewhere in the distance, a sort of modern Polynesian bobblehead. You realize this artistry isn't just about fitting pieces together. It's almost like creating a living being. Through careful co-option of natural elements and profound skill, something akin to magic unfolds. This magic of craftsmanship tiptoes along the lines of quirk, too. For instance, it's believed that chants were often sung during the building process to manifest good fortune and imbue the vessel with spiritual efficacy. Can you picture that, a shop floor vibrating not with the sound of saws, but with an ancient karaoke playlist? As the canoe takes shape under your watchful eye, the aroma of freshly carved wood fills the air, mingling with the scent of salt carried gently by the trade winds. Remember that Polynesian scent? We've captured it again, though this time it clings to sweat and sticky resin. In this delicate blend of sensory experiences, it feels nearly comical to imagine someone attempting to replicate this intricate process with plastic today. The double-hulled canoe was both practical and transcendent. It linked the island peoples physically and spiritually across an entire ocean. The construction site turns into a classroom. You wonder what elite navigators might say about your skills. Besides reminding you that wielding an adze and a YouTube tutorial aren't quite the same, they might appreciate how you're learning to see the canoe as more than just woodwork. This was a vessel by which entire societies voyaged new worlds and conversed across isolation. Despite all my sarcasm and lighthearted jibes, remember that these navigational masterpieces showcase deep knowledge, a harmonious connection between the Polynesian people and their natural world. The ongoing scholarly debates continue to explore whether this knowledge formed as an epiphany from the gods or from generations upon generations of keen observation. Whichever it was, this craftsmanship represents more than human ingenuity. It's a testament to humanity's endless pursuit of mastery over their environment. So, for yourself, crafting the heart of the Pacific won't be accomplished in a day, but embrace the patience it takes. This hypnotic expenditure of time and devotion ensures that the heart of the Pacific beats vigorously, propelling the navigator across teeming azure expanses, revealing the unseen horizon of discovery. And perhaps as you trudge along, with dreams of distant islands and untold stories held in the very fibers of your creation, you come a little closer to unlocking the mystical riddle of the Polynesian voyaging spirit, a connection transcending time, spanning water, and still reverberating in the pulse of modern Polynesian identity. As the gentle hum of the ocean cradles you, the soundscape begins its symphonic overture, playing not just your ears, but your very soul. The vast Pacific expanse whispers secrets, a watery scroll unrolling beneath the dual hulls of your canoe. It's almost like tuning into a nearly forgotten FM radio station, where every tweak of the dial yields a new layer of harmonic complexity, unfurling beneath the moonlit sky. Imagine the waves as maestros, conducting a grand orchestra where each ripple and surge carries a distinct timbre. Every slap of water against the sturdy wooden sides of the canoe hints at stories long submerged, urging you to listen closer. Even a gentle breeze rolling over the surface adds a mellifluous undertone to this ever-evolving composition. It's a magical auditory tapestry, and you, my dear friend, are right in the middle of it, headphones on and mind tuned to nature's infinitesimal frequencies. There's a Fibonacci sequence here, each wave seems divinely ordained to follow the last. Ocean swells move in patterns as predictable as they are mysterious, echoing a cosmic order that seems far removed from our daily grind of coffee mugs and emails. Historians still argue whether the ancient voyagers possessed an intrinsic musical ability to decode these complex maritime melodies or if it was simply their trained instincts honed over countless hours at sea. Either way, the truth sails somewhere between inspiration and practice, like your last-minute dash to the supermarket, knowing exactly which aisle stocks your favorite potato chips without even thinking. You'd think the ocean is just a lot of splashing noise, like a toddler's bath time gone wild. But for the Polynesians, it was more akin to a Vanderpump Rules melodrama, where every wave crest and trough signaled potential plot twists. The sound of the waves could suggest the depth of the water and the proximity of landmasses. The distinctive noise of water smashing onto coral reefs, for instance, was an indication of sudden shallows, like an unexpected spike in your morning cappuccino's froth threatening to overflow. Now, not only the waves comprise this marine symphony, creatures of the sea also have roles in this aquatic concert. The dolphin, for example, provides a lively splash of staccato clicks and whistles, while the distant calls of migrating whales offer a sonorous bass line. Picture them as your underwater beatboxing crew, keeping the boat rhythmically aligned with the journey's pace. Speaking of dolphins, here's a quirky tidbit for you. Did you know these intelligent creatures were believed by some ancient islanders to guide voyagers away from danger and towards land? Imagine them as furry little guardian on. Oh wait, they're not furry, nor do they have wings. Scratch that. Let's call them sleek, aquatic messengers of goodwill. It certainly adds a whimsical flavor to the tale of ancient navigation, one that makes buying a Satin AV for your car seem painfully pedestrian in comparison. And wait, the orchestra grows as marine life offers its unique annotations. Fish leaping from the surf might seem like performers batting for an encore. But don't dismiss them as mere showboaters. Their habits and arcs through the air serve as reliable indicators of currents and approaching land, as if the universe itself hired these entrancing choir members to point the way. So, ensconced in your woven dreamship made of wood and whispers, you realize that Polynesian navigators were indeed melodious magicians, attuned to this divine symphony of sea waves and scale-armored soloists. It's a balance of body and mind, instinct and mastery, reverence and curiosity, a continuous tuning into the song of the sea. You can almost see it as a celestial Spotify playlist curated by marine deities, each track a revelation more profound than any haze of daily trivia. Whether seated in those traditional canoes, scanning horizons, or simply lying back beneath starlit canopies, they absorbed every note, as if the ocean handed out a syllabus in liquid form. The vistas and visions they followed were not just celestial, they were aquatic, a sensory fusion that guided their way across endless watery plains. And here you thought listening to ocean sounds on your phone was the peak of relaxation. Actually, what's so hard? Paddling through mystery and majesty seems a breeze, until remember that Polynesian voyagers did this on a strict calorie budget. Sorry, no detours for coconut lattes. What a twist, handling both hunger and harmony, a diet plan that didn't mention, it's not just about slimming your waist, sometimes, it's about tuning into the scales, literally and metaphorically. So next time you hear the ocean serenade, take a moment to engage with its age-old tunes. Maybe you'll catch the rhythm of history's heartbeats, those ancient echoing choruses of voyagers who knew that to acknowledge the sea's symphony was to understand both oneself and the universe, a melodic reminder that every journey hums at its own frequency, awaiting those discerning enough to listen. In a world before GPS told us to take a left turn onto existential crisis, ancient Polynesian navigators harnessed the tactile and mysterious language of their environment. You stand on the deck, feeling the gentle rock of the ocean beneath your feet, slightly envious of your ancestors who seemingly had the wisdom of the universe on speed dial. Your journey into their world begins with your fingers tracing the lines of a stick chart, a seemingly simple yet astonishingly complex navigational tool crafted from slender rods, shells, and your imagination. Imagine, if you will, a Pinterest project gone wild in the hands of maritime MacGyvers. These stick charts, or Rebelib if you want to impress your friends, encapsulated the swells, currents, and islands of the Pacific into a tactile map that transformed guesswork into a seafaring loan shark's worst nightmare: accurate navigation. Historians still argue whether these charts were literal or abstract representations of the ocean's geography, but what's life without a little scholarly squabble, right? As your hands glide over the chart's smooth coconut fibers, you perceive a tactile symphony, a silent song of the ocean's movements, immortalized in these tactile glyphs. The shells interspersed along the rods play second fiddle, marking island placements in this miniaturized expanse of water in memory. While mainstream history recognizes these tools as crucial to island-hopping escapades, an intriguing fringe belief whispers that they were also mnemonic devices, aiding memory during oral histories, a sort of pre-Socratic TED Talk, if you will. There's a quirky tidbit that might catch you unawares. Some navigators could memorize the chart, visualizing and mentally editing the course in real time, like an oceanic game of Tetris, with just the touch of these wooden whispers. Reputedly, mariners would lie on the canoe floor, sensing subtle changes in waves and pressure shifts as maps formed more in their minds than in the tangle of sticks. Such was the fusion of man, memory, and material, a holistic Google Maps sans screen time. Caught in this nexus of knowledge, you start to appreciate how modern road rage might melt away if only we navigated through life by reading tactile maps instead. Each contour and intersection translated into the mind's eye would surely encourage you to brake before berating the driver cutting you off. Yet, this journey isn't merely about holding these relics. Their brilliance shines through not just in functionality but in a deeper philosophical entanglement with nature, history, and the environment. Remember the last time your Wi-Fi stuttered, leaving your playlist buffering awkwardly during that late-night existential crisis? Well, Polynesian voyagers leaned on their oceanic playlist, a seamless blend of cognitive mapping and environmental attunement, always connected, never buffering. These tactile maps were more than mere navigational aids, they symbolized a harmonious relationship between humans and the natural world. Every swell marked on that chart was an echo of a deeper rhythm, a conversation between earth and sky that predated history itself. Interesting debate lingers over how far beyond Micronesia these maps traveled. While some maintain they were confined to the Marshall Islands, others argue their influence rippled across Polynesia, further entwining cultures and navigational prowess in an oceanic tapestry. As you ponder this, you imagine historians at a round table, furrowed brows, pointing at stick charts with fervor, each eager to win the award for best argument made over coconut fibers. This brings us back to your fingertips, tracing a path long and rooted in the Pacific, echoing with tales of heroic voyages and whispered mysteries. You muse that if only your fingertips could absorb such profound narrative power, every handshake would be a dissertation defense. Through this tactile exploration, the broader elements of the Polynesian voyaging story emerge, from the double-hulled canoes that cut through waves with the elegance of a poetic epiphany to winds that carried whispered advice like a cosmic personal assistant. Each thread in the woven narrative hints at a tangibility beyond sight alone, perhaps a gentle nod from history itself, urging us to understand the world not in isolation but in unity with what we can touch and feel. In gently mocking the rote mechanization of contemporary navigation, you find solace in these ancient connections. The seas of the past held no digital margins or encrypted routes, they lay open to those brave enough to understand them, the original adventurers, standing on the precipice of the known world with only their wits, the stars above, and the guidance of these stick charts in hand. As you imagine a new wave of navigators rising onto the deck, stick charts in tow, you find peace in a world where the ocean's heart lay within reach, mapped not by satellites but by shells and memory. With each breath you take, the air seems to hum a lullaby of the waves, a gentle reminder that perhaps the past's tactile wisdom is still as relevant today as it was centuries ago. In this lull between the push of waves and the steadfast silence of the charts, you pause to wonder, would you have lasted a day on these seafaring odysseys? Perhaps not. But as you slowly drift into sleep, buoyed by the soothing rhythms of stick charts and tidal lore, you find reassurance in this truth: while the maps might fade, the stories they unearth will endure eternally, etched in the hearts of those willing to touch, learn, and leave the mundane behind. Out there on the vast ocean, where the horizon blurs into an endless expanse of blue, you become acutely aware of the wind's presence, in all its invisible, capricious wonder. It whispers around you, a constant companion, a kind of breath that infuses life into sails and stories alike. The ancient Polynesians had no fancy gadgets, no GPS, no daily weather app to tell them what to expect, the mere thought. Instead, they had the wind, a faithful yet enigmatic guide that carried with it centuries of maritime wisdom. Feel your senses awaken now as they once did, tuning into the moods of this unseen force. At times, it's a gentle caress, a lullaby that softly coaxes the double-hulled Vaca along its course. Other times, it's a tempestuous teenager, throwing tantrums across oceanic miles, a reminder that Mother Nature always gets the last word. Ancient navigators, somehow more patient and less prone to checking their phones every minute, learned to read the wind's cues with astonishing acumen. Sailors honed their attention to the slightest variations in temperature and pressure, perceiving nuances that might as well be lore from a land of magic. They would sense the sweet, cool touch of a breeze signaling open seas ahead or feel the dense warmth hiding unseen islands beyond the horizon. Historians still argue whether it was divine intuition or just really, really good training that enabled these mariners to interpret these whimsical signals so accurately. Regardless of the debate, the ever-changing moods of the wind required an ongoing conversation, a dialogue that anyone anticipating an afternoon nap on the high seas might envy for its sheer complexity. The sailors breathed life into their voyages with songs about these winds, singing tales of the Maramu and Tokarau, the gentle trade winds that promise safe passage. And when clouds gathered with the nervous energy of teenage drama, they sang of the Tuerua, a wind of forewarning and caution. These wind tales transformed sailing into a narrative experience, somewhat akin to navigating through your favorite open-world video game, minus the fast travel options. Now, here's a mainstream tidbit to moisten your intellectual palate. Did you know the term trade wind comes from the Old English tread, meaning a path? The winds, thus, were like cosmic conveyor belts for the Polynesians' epic migrations, guiding them across wide oceanic fronts with the promise of discovery. In true YouTube fashion, perhaps the universe's greatest unboxing experience. These navigational experts treated the wind like an old friend who tended to mumble. They understood its complex lexicon and even anticipated its sulky silences. On nights when the wind paused, quiet as a cat contemplating its next existential move, navigators considered this a sign to rely on other cues, stars, ocean swell patterns, or even, intriguingly, the behavior of birds. Ah yes, birds, those charming FAA-unapproved flight instructors of the ancient world. They followed the wind effortlessly, indicating changes in its direction long before mere mortals felt so much as a breeze. Observation of their flight could signal a shift in weather or proximity to land, turning these feathered guides into co-conspirators in the mariner's ongoing negotiation with nature. A quirky little snippet for your next party: there are documented chants specifically to honor certain birds who acted as wind informants, particularly those with a flair for the dramatic. Polynesian voyagers also recognized something modern folks easily overlook: the difference in scents carried by the wind. A whiff of distant flowering trees, carried over miles, announced the nearness of land, while the absence of any particular aroma could suggest open ocean for some time yet. Of course, channeling one's inner wind interpreter takes practice, and poor patience with Netflix buffering might not suffice. Those preparing to embark on these epic journeys would have spent years apprenticing under seasoned navigators, gradually attuning their ears and minds to this ambient conversation with the wind. Imagine it as the masterclass of its time, complete with immersive field exercises. Navigating without those convenient technological crutches taught these master mariners resilience and respect for nature's random acts. Whether a zephyr or a squall, the wind was their partner, a kind of majestic diva whose mood swings you just had to learn to ride out, preferably without a stagger or seasickness. Because, for the sea spray sworn, hitching a ride with this mighty muse was just part of a day's work. The art of conversing with the wind is now largely eclipsed by modern meteorology. And while admiring the wind's choreography as it dances through the rigging of today's yachts might be enjoyable, its mysteries and moods invite deeper contemplation than any perfunctory weather forecast. For the Polynesian wayfarers who once crisscrossed the Pacific like it was their personal playground, the wind was a living dialogue, chaotic, unpredictable, but ultimately trustworthy in its own removed, aloof style. While contemporary historians mull over the nuances of ancient wind wisdom like earnest fans dissecting a director's cut, there remains an undeniable awe surrounding the mastery these navigators possessed. They spoke the language of the wind with a fluency born of an intimacy modern sailors can only long for, a whisper, perhaps, of a world before instant everything, when the answers lay not at our fingertips but scattered across the breadth of nature itself, waiting to be discovered by those with attentive hearts. And so, as the day turns to dusk and the wind begins to sing its gentle lullaby, you feel tethered not just to the vessel but to centuries of stories carried on the breeze. The wind, ever-changing, leaves its mark on both the weary sailor and the curious dreamer, reminding you that some of the greatest navigators were those who truly listened. As you drift weightlessly on the open expanse of the Pacific, your eyes trace the dance of fish beneath the canoe's sway. These shimmering disciples of the ocean, their slick scales glinting like scattered jewels, offer sage counsel to the Polynesian navigators in ways that would bewilder even your most eager crossword-solving uncle. Here, amidst the vast blue wilderness, fish are less food and more omnipresent guides, narrating the underwater currents with the precision of a Victorian pocket watch. That's right, these living compasses do more than just flap about. Feel the gentle swish of the water against the hull and imagine yourself observing the feeding patterns of these aquatic companions. Different species reveal different truths, each with its own diary entry of the ocean's moods. Tuna, ever the stoic scribes of the sea, signal warmer currents in the nearby presence of islands, their migratory ballet a GPS without satellites. Flying fish, more like daredevil stunt pilots, suddenly burst from the waters, their throngs a Broadway production that warns of shifting winds. You might even say they like to make a splash on the open stage. In their own Piscean dialogues, these creatures reveal secrets about tidal shifts and the presence of nourishing algae blooms. Although don't ask them about Bitcoin investments or whether pineapples belong on pizza, historians still argue about such culinary betrayals. Yet, the knack for interpreting these signs isn't just about spotting Nemo. Oh no, it's about attuning to a language forgotten by most, a language where the definitions are ever swimming and yet written in the fluid script of life. Your inner cartographer is probably itching to plot these fishy insights on a high-tech device, but the ancient mariners needed no digital crutch. Their knowledge was as fluid as their environment, each generation passing these ethereal maps to the next in story and song, like top-secret Christmas cake recipes. Oral tradition was Google before Google, just with fewer zeros and more artfully rendered metaphors about fish. Yet, interpreting these marine oracles isn't without its debates. Philosophical disagreements abound like mismatched sandals. Must a navigator swear fealty to empirical observation, or can one rely on intuition, a gut feeling as deep as the Mariana Trench? Academia continues to squabble over the balance between amassed wisdom and the whims of chance. And while the fish couldn't care less about such debates, having no need for tenure or dissertation defenses, they continue to perform their eloquent ballet, unencumbered by the politics of academia. Consider the wonder of fish behavior that signaled not only wind or proximity to land but at times, whispered the possibility of approaching storms long before the skies darkened. A quirk of how oceanic species react to atmospheric pressure shifts, an insight worthy of any cocktail party conversation, provided said party is on board a canoe somewhere in the central Pacific Ocean. Of course, any old enough to ask toddler might wonder about the fanciful twists of this methodology. What if the fish decide to have a day off, or what if they engage in a Shakespearean drama of mistaken identity? Surely there must be occasions when the performers go on strike or falter in their lines. The ancient Polynesians had backups. Their knowledge, after all, wasn't tied to any single choice but a symphony of signs, birds, stars, the ever-patient demeanor of the ocean herself. And on those rare days when fish, birds, and stars played a little hard to get, that's when human ingenuity spiced with a pinch of patience took center stage. Clever as you might be, understanding this particular school of thought is certainly easier when you aren't bobbing alongside the cast. You might wonder if wearing a slick ensemble of fish scales could put you in tune with this underwater telegraph system. Alas, you'd likely just become a splendid attractor for overly enthusiastic gulls. The fish's habits are divine, yes, but only from a respectful, non-scaly distance. And in the end, maybe it's the interplay between human expectation and natural narrative that keeps this story compelling. The fish, indifferent to our poetics and pedantries, continue their balletic business in the brine, untroubled that we using terms like living compasses might be a bit much. Their elegant truth-telling, their silver-scaled revelations, are perhaps the ocean's reminder of a time when despite the roaring chorus of the sea, there were ears attuned to its music, hearts open to its murmured messages. As you let your awareness mingle with the rhythm of the ocean and its fishy philosophers, ponder whether you've uncovered a great truth or slipped gently into a daydream. One might cheekily muse that it's all a fish story. Yet perchance, with each scaled wind, weaving their narratives, the Polynesian navigators caught a glimpse of the symphony sung by the sea. And you, dear dreamer on this soporific sea, might find yourself caught in its sway, rocked by both the wisdom of the ages and the sardonic self-awareness that comes from being a visitor in this tale, armed with little more than curiosity and maybe a captain's hat with "I'd rather be navigating" stitched in fine print. Out in the vast, shimmering blue of the Pacific, you find yourself peering through the endless expanse of sky and sea, hunting for islands that play hide and seek with the horizon. No GPS voice annoyingly announcing, recalculating. Just you, your wits, and a smattering of maritime magic that would make even David Copperfield rub his eyes. Picture this: clouds holding secret meetings in far-off corners of the sky, casting shadows over waves like a game of shadow puppets played by the wind. You squint, your imagination piecing together shapes that suggest, maybe, just maybe, land is calling. These maritime whispers, my friend, wispy clouds skirting the sea, flashes of rainbows dancing on the waves, serve as your cryptic clues. Turns out, the Polynesian navigators were part of history's most determined game of Where's Waldo, minus the trademark red and white stripes. These seafarers didn't just follow GPS coordinates. Oh no, they read the whole book. The sky was their text, the water its margin, and yet somewhere in the footnotes, a mirage might pop up and say boo. Historians still argue whether these enigmatic mirages constituted a reliable enough guide for these ancient mariners. Some swear it was like nature's very own cheat sheet, while others ponder if such visions were more tantalizing distractions than accurate road signs. But how do you learn to read illusionary islands and elusive vision? The almost flirtatious nature of optical illusions would make even the savviest city-dwelling weather forecaster scratch their head and call for intermission. As a quirky little tidbit, it turns out that mirages, those tantalizing glimpses of islands floating on the horizon, aren't just the stuff of fevered imaginations or dehydration-induced dreams. There's a real phenomenon called fata morgana, a complex form of superior mirage visible in a narrow band right above the horizon. This is like an eerie carnival show of the atmosphere. It stretches, stacks, or inversely flips distant objects, inviting a guessing game with your sense of reality. Not to be upstaged by such atmospheric antics, the clouds themselves were part-time whisperers of longitudes and sometimes land. Those cumulonimbus formations billowing up like a sci-fi mothership might be indicative of island formation. Where else would your make-believe be 52-sized beehive land, anyway? Especially interesting is the interplay between clouds and land. Some clouds maintain loyalty to their island overlords, lingering nearby like protective guards. Ancient navigators could presumptively shout "land ho" at the sight of such cloud clusters, though they might hold off on the celebration, or suffer the humiliation of explaining the premature whoop to the crew, eager to swap sea legs for solid ground. Light refractions and atmospheric distortions could play their own tricks with the far-off land's camouflage, turning earnest sailors into armchair philosophers pondering the metaphysical nature of land and dream. Gravity waves, not some space-time oddity, but undulating atmospheric phenomena, could sculpt cloud sculptures that played with their perception of sky and sea, making these ancient mariners the masters of squinting and second-guessing. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? Imagine now its jaundiced aroma mixed with salty ocean breezes as you jockey for prime cloud watching real estate at the helm. Be grateful that your eyebrows can twitch with skepticism because back then, a quizzical brow showed serious credentials in optical semantics. As you trail your fingers through sun-warmed water, savor the realization that in this realm, a mirage wasn't just a mirage but a clandestine communique from the ocean floor to the heavens. Stay the course or prepare to sail right into Poseidon's next soiree uninvited. Can you picture the ancient Polynesians, squinting into the interplay of light and cloud shadow, composing symphonies of speculative geography in their heads? Modern skeptics may muse over the empirical certainty of such sightings or whether these navigators simply believed in better optometrists. Even in contemporary settings, island mirages are cherished marvels of nature's showmanship. They remain teasing reminders of how far our understanding of the natural world has come, and how much remains as driftwood on the waves, waiting to be discovered. So, when next the world seems hazy, take a page from the Polynesian playbook. Lean into the mystery, savor the illusion, and whisper to the clouds as they cavort above the endless sea. Maybe, just maybe, allow a mirage to stir your imagination and invite the idea that not everything tangible is everything worth knowing. Luckily for you, the island always was there, yet whether it appeared in mind or matter is, as always, up for debate. Beneath the vast expanse of clear night skies, you stand transfixed by a dome of glittering stars. Picture yourself, for a moment, as a Polynesian navigator, sailing endless blue waters with only the constellations as your guide. While we may today use gadgets that beep and buzz at the slightest provocation to guide us home, the ancient Polynesians relied on the celestial clockwork above to chart their destinies across the Pacific. It's a bit like relying on Google Maps in airplane mode, you hope it won't let you down. Ancient Polynesians were the original stargazing wizards, blending their understanding of cosmology with advanced navigation techniques. As they journeyed across the open ocean, far from the comfort of land, these navigators observed stars not simply as decorative lights in the sky but as trusty companions that whispered the secrets of time and place. Their method was rather like working on a cosmic jigsaw puzzle, minus a picture on the box for guidance. The night sky becomes a grand narrative in their navigation saga. Stars rose and set with such predictability that each one marked an invisible yet unerring path across the sea. Navigators identified stars in clusters akin to familiar faces guiding them home. You can just imagine them leaning against their double-hulled canoes, peering up at the glittering ocean of stars, and perhaps feeling a kinship with those remote islands of light. Now, here's the mainstream historical fact: the Polynesian navigators used a star compass, an ingeniously simple yet precise method of orientation based on the positions of prominent stars relative to their known rise and set points. This helped them maintain their courses over long oceanic voyages. Picture this: each star becomes part of an invisible grid, a vast, interstellar game of tic-tac-toe upon which the lives and fates of these intrepid sailors depended. But not all navigation was by rote memory in clear skies. Sometimes, the ancients relied on fringe tidbits that might remind you of dream interpretation more than astronomy. The Hecla, a meteor or a comet, for example, was perceived not just as a random streak across the sky, but as an augury, a cosmic sign pointing toward fortune or peril. Similar to the way we might jump at notifications during an important Zoom meeting, these fiery trails were viewed with a mix of respect and concern. Historians still argue whether certain constellations had universally agreed upon names and functions across different Polynesian cultures, or whether each island group interpreted the heavenly topography in its own unique way. It's a mystery wrapped in a celestial enigma, showcasing yet again how human understanding is both unified and wonderfully varied. As you continue this nocturnal expedition, it's hard not to draw a parallel between the ancient Polynesians and present-day stargazers, lounging in foldable chairs on their suburban lawns. There's something universally calming about the night sky, a vast arena where the immense beauty seems to hush the noises of the day, inviting contemplation and the occasional existential crisis about our tiny place in the universe. Returning your focus to the night skies of imagine the constellations operating like a team of cosmic timekeepers, ticking away with the poetical rhythm of sweet lullabies. In this starlit theater, Oriental Star Antares, a supergiant red star, appears as an eye, or perhaps a beacon, guiding the voyagers with its steady glow. Watching it slowly appear on the horizon, you'd likely chuckle at your earthly anxieties, dwarfed by the grandeur of such cosmic luminaries. You explore the sky with the navigator's eyes, realizing they relied on Sirius, the dog star, as an important guide. To the Polynesians, It represented not just a celestial point but part of a broader narrative, a chapter in a cosmic storybook guiding brave souls across winding oceanic chapters. Each star becomes intimately personal, an intersecting moment of myth, navigation, and shared understanding of both the heavens and earthly existence. As constellations wax and wane in the vast night, you might feel a twinge of competitive stargazing spirit. After all, these celestial navigators could effortlessly outclass today's amateur astronomer with their knowledge. Their perspectives demonstrate an intuitive connection to the world, the cosmos, that perhaps eludes our app-led lives. But don't let that make you feel too small. After all, at least you've got GPS, right? Even as auroras twinkle and comets streak, there's a sense of humility in the hearts of these navigators. To them, the sky isn't simply an astronomical map but a spiritual tapestry linking the physical realm with something larger. Dreams, aspirations, and oceanic charts are threaded together beneath these celestial timekeepers, whispering tales as they drift through cyclical rituals of rise and set. You're left wondering, in this age of technological marvels, whether we've lost some of the poetry that dances upon those distant waves of light. As one familiar cluster begins its descent below the horizon, a sense of reflexive gratitude washes over you like gentle Pacific trade winds. It's a reminder of how the ancient navigators fused the tangible with the mystical and created not just routes through the sea, but connections between themselves and the universe. It's like realizing your bedtime stories are actually age-old tales woven by stellar storytellers, resonating through history to guide both journey and soul. And so, beneath the vast dome of twinkling lights, as celestial clocks continue their endless ticking, you find yourself lulled by the eternal cadence, a sleepy harmony of remembrance for those who charted new worlds with stars as stepping stones in a cosmic sea. And isn't that a comforting thought to lull you further into the voyage of dreams? As the sun dips below the horizon, leaving behind a dusky trail of amber and lavender, you find yourself stepping into the shoes, or should I say bare feet, of a Polynesian navigator. Night unfurls above like a vast velvet curtain sprinkled with countless specks of flickering diamonds. Polynesian navigators, with their unwavering vigilance, weave themselves into the cosmos, a human compass guiding their vessels through shimmering stardust and tumultuous waves. It's a serene yet demanding task, requiring your undivided attention. So, grab your imaginary cup of coconut water and settle in. You'll need to stay wide awake for this adventure. Imagine the scene. A canvas of sky wraps you in its embrace, and here, every star isn't just a ball of burning gas millions of miles away but a precise pin on the vast nautical map. Your eyes, like delicate instruments, flick back and forth, tracing the cosmic patterns passed down through generations of navigators. Each glimmer is a waypoint, a reassurance that you're on course, even though the rest of the world slumbers. Historians still argue whether the ancients used complex devices like astrolabes or if their navigation was purely intuitive. Either way, your task is to remain alert, interpreting the night's celestial symphony with an artistry honed over time. In this nightly vigil, there are no tangible gadgets to lean on, no compasses or GPS devices to direct your path, just the sky, endless and sprawling. Oh, and a mental map woven with as much precision as your grandmother's finest embroidery. The first quip of the night: just try shopping for star maps on a deserted island. Amazon Prime hasn't quite expanded its delivery network that far yet. The Polynesian voyagers had such mastery over this aquatic ballet that they became the original human compasses. Imagine them, perched almost meditatively at the bow of a canoe, eyes scanning the heavens, arms outstretched to measure angles between horizon and star with hands alone. The knowledge, though vast, was often kept to an exclusive few, almost like an esoteric secret society of star whisperers, their insights into navigation more valuable than gold. But alas, unlike those infomercials promising dubious means of becoming wealthy while sleeping on your couch, star navigation requires actual all-nighters. Sometimes, as night deepens and the breeze carries the salty scent of distant lands yet unseen, you can almost feel the presence of those ancient navigators. Their spirits restlessly wander the paths they once charted, perhaps eyeing your efforts critically or nodding approvingly through the whisper of the wind. At this nocturnal crossroad, you become part of a continuum that threads the past through the present and into the future. A little existential for bedtime, you say? Well, the cosmos will do that to you, a timely reminder that we are all just cosmic specks floating on a tiny blue marble. In case you're wondering, the human compass was expected to function without the option of napping, hence the unsleeping in the gig description. Yes, monstrous responsibilities everywhere, but you think you'd manage a snooze somewhere, like during those dull parts in extended monologues or family dinners when someone recounts their vacuous vacation tales. But here, under this starlit canopy, sleep is not on the agenda. As a human compass, the night is your realm, and your relationship with sleep has to become strictly platonic. While Polynesian navigators look to the heavens for guidance, their connection with the sea is equally intimate. The ocean beneath is a living, breathing entity with moods as mercurial as a cat during bath time. Knowing when to push forward and when to hold back is a judicious dance with the tide's rhythms. No paper charts, remember? Just keen observation and subliminal conversations with both seawater and sky. You managed to see a quirky reflection of spatial awareness in how they interpreted the ocean floor's texture by touch alone, a technique befitting a bedtime tale. You'd think they are like limitless Google Maps with skins of parchment paper thin sandpaper. Sensory genius at its best. Bouncing back, you find camaraderie in nocturnal sea creatures. Dolphins may stir occasionally near your canoe, almost as if checking on your well-being. They most certainly won't lend you coffee to keep awake, though. Occasionally, you catch a fish gliding across the water's surface, reassuring you that land may be nearing. Yeah, I know, relying on fish for GPS isn't something you read in a hiking guide, but it's all part of ancient Polynesian wizardry. As fisherfolk will tell you, a slap from a flying fish is the oceanic equivalent of a splash moment at the water park, minus the inflatable flamingos. Scholars continue to debate the celestial and oceanic symbiosis, with implications and interpretations still sparking heated debates in intellectually inclined circles. Some argue that navigating by star counts alone required almost supernatural levels of concentration and memory, bordering on savant-like coordination. Others opine that communal orchestration and shared stories enrich the knowledge, each navigator participating in a larger-than-life theater act with nature as the stage and universe as the curtain. Speaking of orchestration, remember this is a wakeful account, not one to send you into slumbering bliss just yet. As you peer into the depths of the starlit canopy, realize that being the human compass is not just about navigation, it's about synchronizing heartbeats with cosmic pulses and translating that harmony into a narrative that spans generations. With no snooze button in sight, persistence is key, insurmountable, like hiking through a swamp of prickly wild blueberry bushes without the luxury of shoes. Who said vital skills didn't require sacrifices or occasional fruitless pricks, after all? As the world holds its breath, awaiting the first light of dawn, you keep vigil. You bridge past and present, a breathing link in the seemingly endless chain that binds this lineage of navigators together. The sea murmurs its lullaby beneath you, the stars whisper their secrets above, and you, dear unsleeping traveler, become not just a nameless guardian of direction but a humble curator of midnight tales and astronomic wonders aligned to the maritime path before you. As you tuck these teachings into your mental repository, you realize this symbiosis of nature and knowledge has become your guidepost, a beacon bright enough to illuminate even the darkest of watery paths. In the realm of the human compass, your senses awaken not in isolation but as a testament to the legacy of knowledge bestowed upon you. Feel the gentle tug of understanding at the edge of your perception, nudging you to embrace both night and day as just different shades of a single canvas. And so, this starry tale continues, carried on the breath of the wind and woven into the whispers of distant lands. As the sea braces itself for the dawn, so must you, your journey, both an end and a beginning. And so, amid your drifting daydreams at sea, the weather takes a sudden turn, dark clouds gathering like gossip at a village market. You didn't think island hopping could turn into a high-stakes audition for Survivor, Ocean Edition, but here you are, bracing yourself against the squalls and clutching tightly to those scant lessons in stone preparedness. If you're very fortunate and very attentive, you'll get to relive the tales of your ancestors as they conquered these very tempests, guided by whispered legends and silent prayers. Those mighty heroes, your seafaring forebears, never one to let a mere cyclone dampen their spirits, unlike modern folk who panic at the sight of a Wi-Fi outage. Imagine the sky opening up like it's trying to bestow Poseidon's wrath directly upon your little canoe. The Pacific Ocean shows its dual personality, benevolent one moment and a drama queen the next, hurling everything it's got, wind, water, clouds built up like stage props teetering ominously overhead. At a balmy 100 degrees of chaos, you trade sun-dappled serenity for slashing rain and howling gusts. Historically speaking, Polynesian navigators had a special toolkit to deal with these tantrums of nature, and no, It didn't include an umbrella. They knew the ocean's secret codes, trusting in the gracious if capricious dances of wind and waves. Historians still argue whether these sea-savvy spirits harbor a kind of storm telepathy, or merely a wealth of observational knowledge combined with a drop of ancestral luck. Visualize this: the horizon blurs into a cacophony of frothy whitecaps, as your beleaguered vessel transforms into an improbable entity, a gossamer tether between chaos below and cosmic order above. At this point, the stories of survival get passed around like treasured heirlooms. The saga of Te Arawakamu, or the Restorer's Path, epitomizes resilience, where a fleet once found landfall after diverting from a monster tempest with the help of a school of playful dolphins. An interesting tidbit for you: those dolphins might have been guides or jesters, aiding your ancestors as they pointed their potential mission, impossible sequel back toward home. But enough dallying with tales. There's a windmilling mainmast to adjust and perhaps a chance to yell defiant, if slightly theatrical, threats at the swirling skies. Winds, with their chaotic caprice, hold a strange dialogue with memory and instinct, as though each element were an orator in the great tempest symphony. Your very fingers buzz with the energy of the ancestral past, echoing through time, grounding you in this maelstrom. It's during these moments, between gusts learned from wind's whispers and torrents of rain that churn through your resolve, that you come to see why this life, this voyage, would prove perilous for most, a fair-weather adventurer's nightmare. For the Polynesians, it was a test, a crucible of sorts, weeding out the unworthy. This wasn't just sailing, this was artistry in adversity, a cosmic conversation written in wind and water and woven with threads of wisdom passed down through generations. Nautical enthusiasts tend to fold themselves into pretzel shapes trying to comprehend the sheer tenacity of these ancient mariners. You, floundering beautifully amidst your choreographed chaos, have front-row seats to the skirmish between human spirit and elemental theatrics. It's almost like being in a musical, only with less rhythm and far too much improvised choreography. Curiously enough, these howling gales and pounding seas don't just serve as unruly background noise to your maritime drama, they carve silent memories into the marrow of those who dare confront them. Much like an ancient tattoo in the making, each storm sculpts its mark, embedding itself into folklore and family memory. While mainstream history books reserve their pages for calmer, more linear tales, it's during these bouts of nature's fury that communities crafted stories filled with the kind of escapades even modern blockbuster writers might envy. The artistry flourishes here, slapped together with drizzle-soaked valor. You are, after all, creating mythological memories in real time. As your journey bumps up to the crescendo of atmospheric anarchy, you feel the storm veins pulsing against tradition's beating heart. Do you make it through? Well, let's just muse for a moment. Perhaps you, and those before you, come to understand nature's capricious might not as a barrier but as a particularly eccentric companion. One historian still debate is driven by unpredictable motives or a cosmic reminder of humility. So, as the wind's spine-tingling wails subside, ushering in the dawn of a tranquil sky, you absorb the lesson anew: storms may be untamed, but the human spirit is undaunted. Back in the heady aroma of calm, where the sea reprises its serene tune, you reason that such harrowing encounters with nature are less about survival and more about respect, reverence, and the million-year-old dance between humanity and the elements. You chuckle at the memory, the shared camaraderie with invisible sailors past, and savor the quiet after the storm, more enlightening than any scripted lesson you ever exchanged for comfort within the confines of your typical modern craze. Ultimately, the tempest is not just an adversary but a teacher, an ancient lecturer compelling you to drop your pretensions and listen anew to nature's syllabus. As the remnants of the storm dissolve in sunlit spectacles, you find yourself clinging to these stories, knowing that this wild communion, carved into both memory and myth, will someday echo once more across the faces of future seafarers braving these unfettered waters. When your grandchildren hear of Auntie's adventures on the high seas, storytelling will assume a new vigor, fueled by untamed tempests and silent memories. As you drift upon the gentle sway of the ocean, the horizon stretching infinitely before you, it's time to cast your thoughts toward those whose presence might have been invisible to history but are nonetheless indelibly woven into the fabric of Polynesian voyaging society. Yes, the ladies of the voyage, those extraordinary women whose roles as navigators, guides, and healers were crucial, yet often go uncelebrated in the annals of traditional storytelling. Imagine, if you will, the scene of preparation before a great expedition: men and women gathered, the air thick with the scent of taro and coconut, and the rhythmic hum of chants outlining the anticipated journey. Amidst this organized chaos, you spy the figures of women not merely as supportive spouses or passive caretakers but as active participants in the planning and guidance of these brave endeavors. But here's where historians find themselves in a merry dance around the campfire of debate. They still argue whether these women were primarily valued for their inherent navigational skills or whether their wisdom extended into spheres that we might now term psychological welfare. What we do know is that women held the metaphorical compass to the clan's spirit, often possessing deep knowledge of the stars and seas, an oral tradition passed down through storytelling that would make any GPS manufacturer weep with envy. It's said that women like Kahumanu of Hawaii would enter a trance-like state, a kind of historical ASMR if you like, channeling the voices of ancestors to provide counsel on whether the timing of a voyage was auspicious. Imagine, if you were a crew member, receiving navigational advice from someone seemingly holding a conversation with the winds themselves. Talk about taking déjà vu to the next level. Moreover, they might weave garlands and leis imbued with symbolic maps and stories, creating tactile guides that provided assurance and direction amid the vastness of the ocean. It's almost as if these living blossoms became mnemonic devices aiding navigation. This intersection of sensory craftsmanship with nautical strategy should serve as a reminder that ancient wisdom, not bytes and bits, quite literally flowered under the sun and stars. And what would a voyage be without a little childcare? While dads are busy debating the merits of this current versus that breeze, the women often took on the critical role of teaching the younger voyagers. Picture the scene: small children diving into the sea like dolphins, their mothers gently scolding them for behaving too much like fish instead of learning how to read the clouds or count the ripples of the ocean as one would count sheep for sleep. Despite any modern frustrations with parenting on a vessel meant for brave souls, these meremoms instilled the skills necessary for future seafaring adventures. The contribution of these women extended even into the spiritual realms. Their role in performing rituals and chants to appease the deities ensured that the crew's emotional compass stayed as finely tuned as the one navigating the actual journey. It's said by some that their songs could calm not only a rowdy crew but the tempest itself, a notion that leaves one pondering on the therapeutic potential of a good chant session. Historians find themselves bickering like seagulls over whether these rituals were more than psychosomatic pacifiers but essential elements in maintaining both morale and focus. And let's not forget about sustenance. Ladies, oh how adept you are at turning the meager provisions aboard into feasts fit for chiefdoms. Fermenting breadfruit, drying fish, and occasionally concocting a broth that was just right for the sea-weary voyager, these culinary feats were no mere acts of survival. They were love letters, edible testaments to the commitment that bound these brave communities together, a palatable tapestry, nourishing both body and soul. Finally, imagine facing the daunting prospect of returning home. Picture the haze of salt spray refracting the sun, creating ethereal landscapes, while the women gathered, interpreting such illusions with practiced ease, a reminder that the wonders of marine mirages were yet another obstacle these navigators turned into navigational beacons. Were they modern-day cynics, they might have dismissed these as nothing more than light shows put up by an uncaring universe. Instead, they saw them as opportunities to synchronize celestial and emotional rhythms, a harmonious path across the world's largest oceanic expanse. So let us give thanks in hushed, respectful tones for those intrepid women, whose roles sailed beyond the constraints of gender into territories of deep intuition and sagacity. If ever you find yourself lost, not physically but perhaps just mulling away a restless night's sleep, remember those navigational chants floating over the gentle push of tides. Maybe, just maybe, you'll hear an echo of their wisdom swirling inside your own dreams. As you close your eyes, imagine sailing through a vast ocean layered with mysteries and magic. The swell of the water beneath your imaginary canoe quietly lulls you into a state of dreamy curiosity. You're in the company of ancient Polynesians who didn't just see the sea as a stretch of salted chaos but as a tapestry wound tightly with wonder and lore. Their minds were cartographers drawing islands from whispers and dreams long before any compass or map. It's a skill akin to dreaming on demand, one that must leave you wondering if this is merely the stuff of legends or if ale might have been stronger back then than now. Picture an island, you can't see it, touch it, or even begin to rationalize its existence. Yet, you're told, it's there, nestled somewhere in the embrace of the waves. This surreal reality hinges on the myths and ancestral whispers murmured among the Polynesians. Think of it as ancestral Google Maps, before it was cool, or indeed, invented. Here's where it enters the realm of historical mystery. Historians still argue whether these mythical islands were based on real lands sighted from afar or pure poetic invention. Whispered truths make the best stories after all, don't they? As you sail deeper into these waters of the mind, you're subtly introduced to the fascinating idea of iwi. They're not islands in the geographic sense but cultural and spiritual landmasses, charted within the mental maps of these early islanders. Perhaps a tough one to mark on your GPS, but these mental constructs were essentially born from mnemonic devices and oral traditions that ensured survival and prosperity. We modern folk would do well to harness a fraction of such imaginative navigation in our daily commutes. Now enter the role of the songbird, or perhaps in this case, the storyteller. Just like these mariners, you become a balladeer, singing tales into being, painting entire isles with vibrant strokes of imagination and heritage. Listen closely as night falls and stories unfold, each word and rhythm a brushstroke on the delicate canvas of the ocean's surface. This practice ensured that no journey was without guidance. As it turned out, turn left at the second wave had a very profound and precise sentiment behind it. Here you are, enjoying the view, when a notion strikes you: did these islands ever really exist, or were they the comforting truths needed for safe passage? Nonetheless, an argument for this intangible art still persists amidst scholars trying to pinpoint whether sightings like these were hallucinations born from heat and exhaustion or the glimpse of islands revealed by acoustics and birds. This aligns intriguingly with the belief in Waikiki, the mythical homeland of the Maori in many Polynesian cultures. It's an island that exists in both the physical and metaphysical realm, a place of origin as well as return, firmly rooted in the collective psyche and lore. But wait, there's humor too in this historical jaunt. Let's pause to appreciate the wry irony of paddling with fervor towards an island that may well pull a disappearing act. If the dive into mythos teaches us anything, it's that the tantalizing mystery of these phantom islands is precisely their appeal. Wouldn't it be amusing to find a weathered old sign reading "Sorry, we missed you"? To add a splash of something unexpected, there's that quirky tidbit about how distant clouds over horizons were interpreted as signals of land, tricking many a hopeful sailor into thinking land was just a paddle away. Or were these optical phenomena just Mother Nature's way of reminding us humans that not everything is served with a slice of logic? As these ghostly isles drift in and out of focus, we're left with a conundrum as intricate as it is enchanting. Did the voyages require such dreamlike detail solely for survival's sake, or was there a deeper connection, a unity with the universe hinted at by those who knew the dance of the stars and sea? Were these islands the fertile cradles of new cultures and ideas, or simply figments conjured by necessity? Whatever the case, these crafted myths ensured Polynesian sailors not only survived their voyages but did so with stories and islands etched forever into their memories. Perhaps the next time you find yourself lost in the mundane gridwork of city life, you might channel a sliver of this adventurous spirit, conjuring your own fleeting island of tranquility in a sea of urban sprawl. After all, life could use a bit more dreaming and a little less steering by the unyielding demands of our watch-glow moments. And as you settle in, ready to drift into sleep, maybe you too will craft a mosaic from whispers, an unseen isle awaiting your discovery. Sweet dreams! Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the warm sand beneath your feet merging seamlessly with the cool, embracing waves. Here, amidst the incessant roar of the sea, you are about to embark on a journey, not across the vast, tangible blue, but through the limitless expanse of human memory and oral tradition. These aren't your everyday GPS coordinates. There are no screens displaying interconnected lines leading you to safety. Instead, you shall traverse the Polynesian world through the intricacies of songs, chants, and stories. Picture this: you're on a canoe, not just any canoe, but one intricately carved with the wisdom and artistry of generations. Instead of a compass or a sextant, you have the evocative chant of an elder, the oral map that has guided your ancestors across these very waters. These aren't simple ditties, they are profound repositories of knowledge. Imagine, each note is a whisper of a wave, each stanza a shift in the wind. Quite efficient, considering they never run out of battery life, unless you forget the lyrics, that is. Legends say that these chants and songs could conjure islands from thin air, or rather, reveal them, as they guide you past hidden reefs and towards safe harbors. While historians agree on the existence of this oral navigational tradition, they still argue whether one could genuinely sail from the Marquesas to Hawaii with nothing but a well-sung serenade and a keen ear. Skeptics say no, but I like to imagine the power of pulling an island from the ocean with a catchy chorus. It's not only about the sea-filled symphony. The magic of these oral traditions lies in their adaptability and how quickly they can transform based on the oceanic theater's demands. A well-versed navigator could adjust the rhythm of his chant to reflect the changing tide or the appearance of a guiding star. And should you become weary, rest assured, there's a nap-inducing refrain designed perfectly to lull you while, say, crossing particularly calm waters. The power of this oral tradition is not just convenience, it's deeply cultural, a collection of mnemonic devices that blend together in a tapestry of linguistic cartography. As you close your eyes and let the rhythmic chants wash over you, you connect with the billion grains of sand in ancient stories. Every verse is replete with vibrant metaphors. You imagine dolphins dancing at your side, and beneath, the hidden world of fishes acting as living compasses pointing towards land. This hybrid knowledge, even though quite handy for a casual regatta race, was part of the greater cultural narrative, a shared heritage binding communities across the domain of oceanic vastness. Oh, and do remember the occasional dramatic flair in these chants, a precautionary reminder against capricious tempests awaiting beyond the horizon. With a chuckle, you may think these could serve effectively as Polynesian weather reports. One moment, you might be lulled into a sense of serene calm, only to be jerked awake by a cautioning crescendo about an impending storm. Sometimes, what's most fascinating is how such a highly evolved, deeply musical system could have birthed along these shores. In a world where our speedy internet often falters, leaving us in a streaming lurch, there's something immensely reliable about a song which, once committed to memory, transmits the intricate dance of the stars across generations. Historians still ponder whether such precision was merely linguistic artistry or born from necessity, each note helping etch the ocean's commandments into the minds of voyagers. Can you feel it? The gentle sway of your canoe harmonizing with the sonorous hums that have transcended time and tide. Here lie no secret mermaids bestowing wisdom but rather the enduring essence of human ingenuity and adaptability. You trace back the narratives following invisible paths charted between islands, these songs a tether, a melodic stitching of invisible lines across the expanse of endless possibility. Amidst this auditory navigation, what's truly remarkable is when the islands finally crest over the horizon, these destinations previously existing only within melodious legend and lore. The moments creased with disbelief make you question, was this a well-kept secret of manifestation all along? No doubting ancestors in dire straits appreciated a touch of divine intervention from these whispered orations. Keep in mind, though, that these navigational fables contain more than just directions. They hold tales of heroes and villains, gods and monsters lurking beneath kaleidoscopic horizons. Each verse a fragment of history, of love and loss, ensuring that those venturing across potentially yield more than they sought. This cultural connection transcends physical voyage, a bridge between the spiritual, personal, and geographic. In communicating voyages through oral mnemonic brilliance, the Polynesians demonstrated an understanding of their environment so profound it became almost mystical. They could build islands in the minds of others, much like a digital map auto-generating unseen roads. Did ancient navigators dare imagine us enchanted listeners recreating their stories, tracing and retracing their paths across history's forgotten seas in this modern ode to their journey? The unseen allure of storytelling has always been to make visible what we see in our mind's eye. In a linguistic dance set adrift on each ocean breeze, we are bound, entrenched and reassured by the narrative guiding each wave beneath our fingertips. Thus, in truth, there are no maps or gateways into uncharted territories beyond the capacity to dream collectively. The songs, chants, and verbal directions become roadside guides as we venture further, untethered by modern constraints but married to aspiration and whimsy. Perhaps, instead of swiping through the seemingly infinite playlists on our smartphones, we could find solace in this ancient Spotify of the soul, perhaps wearing out age-old records long before vinyl was even conceived. So why not lie back, allow the ancient echoes to cradle you, and drift effortlessly into the realm of dreams spun by voices that once swayed safely across the endless sea? As the bow of your sleek, double-hulled canoe finally nudges the shore, there's a mix of relief and melancholy. You've made landfall, a moment that's akin to finishing a long, epic poem. But don't get too comfortable just yet. You see, this is merely the beginning of another story. The land may seem like a destination, a full stop at the end of a long sentence scribbled across rolling waves, but in the true spirit of voyaging, it's merely a comma, a pause before the next adventure. You've reached the land of return, a point that symbolizes both a culmination and a new chapter. Quite fickle of the universe, don't you think? Just when you settle in for a breather, someone hands you a quill, pointing to a freshly minted page. No sooner has your foot sunk into the welcoming, grainy embrace of sand, than you start noticing the others. Your fellow sailors begin to bustle about excitedly, their energy oddly magnified by the firm ground beneath them. There's talk of what's next, new islands to discover, new stories to weave into the intricacies of oceanic life. Your time at sea becomes part of a larger tapestry, a shared narrative that lives and breathes through oral history, ever expanding with each voyage, just as the universe extends its celestial borders. Historians still argue whether these tales indeed hold some cosmic connection or whether sailors just had particularly good imaginations, fueled by endless waves and ancient myths. Stand for a moment and listen, the sounds of greetings and laughter as families reunite, the shuffle of grass skirts against skin, the welcoming cries of seabirds overhead. It's a wonder your ears can still perceive joy amidst the endless drone of ocean whispers you've grown accustomed to. Already, your mind is busy cataloging this rich, new soundscape, conscious that every detail is a thread that ties old stories to new beginnings. Did you expect landfall to be an easy forest walk after an Olympic marathon at sea? Think again. Acclimating to the solid rockiness of Earth, it seems, takes more than a few moments. Your legs, so used to the sway of the ocean, require a recalibration. Preparing, you might say, to march to this new rhythm. It might seem hilarious to an observer if only someone had invented a camera. Maybe Vine would have been a long-forgotten form of ancient expression, capturing the comedic struggle of sailors on land. As you meander into the village, the sights and smells are invigorating. Smoke curls lazily up into the sky from cooking fires where meals are prepared with island staples you've missed, taro, sweet potatoes, and the ubiquitous coconut. A whiff of roasting pig tickles your nose, reminding you just how much you miss terrestrial foods. Nature has a way of painting homecomings with the hues of culinary delight, doesn't it? Amid these sensory waves lies a historical truth: such voyages were not solitary pursuits, but communal endeavors that interwove the social fabric with the natural and spiritual realms. Oral histories speak of the chants and stories, paeans to the gods and ancestors, that filled the air during such landfalls. They transformed the act of setting foot on land into an almost sacred ritual. If you listen closely, muffled beneath the everyday hum, you might hear echoes of these ancient verses reverberate like ghost whispers from the past. There's a quirky notion amongst some circles, never scientifically proven, mind, that the sea possessed a sort of memory. It's like it holds grudges or fondness depending on how respectful you were during your voyage. A good crossing? Perhaps you had the sea gods smiling upon you, favor returned. A bad one? Time to pay your dues. Mystical fairness, blending seamlessly into maritime lore. Historians, forever the cautious scribes, often question whether these beliefs influence the prioritization of ecological respect amongst Polynesian societies. But back to your season, sun-kissed feet stepping onto alien soil, you are not just returning home, but stepping into a new role. Familiar hierarchies at sea must now be renegotiated on land, through rituals and feasts that celebrate your journey and your survival. It is here you'll tell your tales, embellishing perhaps, weaving them into the oral tapestry where fact and fiction hold hands. Fun fact, back in the day, a successful voyage would even earn you the right to an impromptu TED Talk, island style, sharing your insights gained from the stars and the sea. Your auroral presentation skills had better be top-notch. After all, attention spans wane once the coconut brew starts flowing. In many ways, this shared storytelling is a rite of passage, making your voyage immortal. It lives on in the community's collective memory, becoming a tangible part of the lineage of explorers who dared cross the vast and intimidating Pacific. Talk about leaving a legacy far broader than a digital footprint. Your tales, spoken into a gentle breeze, become viral storytelling of a different nature, perhaps the oldest, eternal retweets, passed from mouth to ear, from generation to generation. Still, the moment your tale has been spun and your belly sufficiently filled, the horizon begins to beckon once more. Adequately lulled into a sense of belonging, curiosity itches vehemently at the back of your mind. Let's be honest, the vulnerability and magic you now associate with voyaging aren't easy to shed. A teasing thought of distant lands whispers sweet nothings into your half-snoozing ears, reminding you of promises yet to be fulfilled and uncharted waters to navigate. Thus, in template yet organic fashion, another adventure seeds itself. Plans form effortlessly, like constellations appearing at twilight, just as the gods ruthlessly intend. Voyaging doesn't end with sighting land, rather, it loops back upon itself, reaching out for the cosmos as the fabled cycle of exploration continues. Quite the clever trickery of fate, wouldn't you agree? The final stretch of your journey draws near, as the canoe glides softly over the molten glass surface of the ocean, whispering its promise of rest. It's as if the sea, which you've come to know so intimately, finally allows you a tender escape into the bosom of a tranquil harbor. The stars, those timeless companions, twinkle above, threading their cosmic ballet through the velvety night, nodding their approval as if to say, "You've earned this peace." Feel the boat slow, its wooden hull creaking softly, a language of its own, familiar now as a lullaby sung by a weary traveler to the sea. As the shore looms closer, the dense thrum of ocean life gives way to a gentle hush, like a theater falling silent before the starry sky's curtain draws. The land's silhouette gradually reveals itself, with palm trees swaying in a lethargic dance, guardians keeping watch over the harbor dreams and tales of voyaging ancestors. At this serene boundary where sea meets land, an age-old ritual plays out, strings of stories knitted into sails, wind's whispers dying into breezes, while even the steadfast stars begin to dim their glow. It echoes an internal tension shared by all who navigate life's vast oceans, that anxious yearning for the comforts of home after weathering the gales, yet here, at the harbor, the sea simply exudes tranquility. You recognize the sweet familiarity of this haven. The air brims with scents you remember, salty and rugged yet blended with the sweet perfume of elusive flowers that thrive just out of reach of the salty spray. It's that distinct earthy fragrance, as if the land has drawn a deep breath, offering the exhausted ocean traveler some of its stored energy. Now, speaking of energy, let's not forget how ancient navigators often treated themselves to fermenting all kinds of peculiar natural brews. Imagine the semi-sweet, tangy concoctions that might have been a reward after such voyages. Rumor has it that legends surround some of these drinks. Historians still argue whether or not they managed to induce prophetic dreams of maps and stars. Of course, we mustn't expect our modern smoothies to precipitate such enlightenment, but one can dream while sipping a kale shake. Remember the reverence the sea has demanded on this journey, with all its language of scales and winds? It's a conversation that continues sparking interest today. You might recall that quirky tidbit about some navigators reportedly taming the feistiest of storms with laments sung against the wind. It chuckles softly now in your ear, disappearing into the soft glow of twilight. Settling into the harbor's embrace, you are beckoned inward, accompanied by rolling echoes of ancestral chants mingling dreamily with the gentle lapping of waves against rock, the elemental symphony of life and myth, still resonant, still potent. There's a suggestion, thick in the air, that magic lies concealed behind every whispered legend echoing around these waters. Historians discuss fervently which songs and chants were actually used during these nighttime vigils, navigational, sure, but something more melodic to soothe tired souls? The scholarly community remains divided, but one consensus prevails: the vivacity of these traditions reflects in communal spirit. And now that landfall seems ever so near, the aromatics wafting by confirm where sea and sand await. As you nestle deeper into this lull, eyes heavy with a yearning for slumber, consider the harmony of cosmic fate enveloping this journey. The stories, like tendrils from the stars above, weave through you, intertwining safely within the rich cultural tapestry from which you emerged. You sense an undercurrent of reassurance, as if the sea whispers sweet nothings of secrets it holds, hidden life yet explored, journeys still to embark. And as this celestial narrative loosens its grip, perhaps you'll smile wryly at the cosmic fate that parcels your voyage for another day. The harbor's lullaby lilts softly, a gentle nudge toward tranquility, inviting you to drift into realms where dreams dance under an eternal sky. With each steady breath, the day's stories dissipate, unraveling lightly like coils of mist exposed to morning's first rays. Your body and mind slowly release tension as languid waves bend, sway, and cradle you into depths far more welcoming than even the softest bed. Confidently, these stories assure continuity at every thread stitch, flowing until sleep claims it, resting quietly in thoughts woven among time's currents. There's nothing left but to unwind, feeling the harbor's unwavering embrace. Let the night enfold you like a sumptuous, velvet drapery, its darkness speckled with worlds steadfastly offering sanctuary. They whisper softly, not unlike that quaint and curious numbing song, where ancients once charted courses across fathomless seas with lyrical humility, now extending its reverberations onto these shores. You breathe out slowly, settle deeper, feeling fatigue enveloped in serenity, and softly, like a final, tender breath, the whisper comes to us, "Good night."